Could your habits use a makeover? Hello, everyone. My name is Tessa. I am here to introduce you to Reagan Rodriguez and the Futurist Mindset Show. Reagan is a futurist who teaches stratosphere wealthy legacy families how to become impact investors.
Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Very good. Thank you. How are
Oh,
you?
I'm doing better than I deserve, and I'm excited about this topic. And again, similar to last week, I'm doing this based on feedback. I had two conversations with somebody earlier uh, this week, and then another one today that was related to habits. And then somebody else, I saw an email that came in. I didn't know this, but did you know that today is considered Health Day?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't either. And what I thought was funny was the email came in today and it said, although that they were hosting some kind of a seminar that would normally be done on Friday. This was a spam email. I didn't know who these folks were. And they said, but being the fact that today is Health Day, we're doing it today. So I kind of smiled because, as you know, those of you that are watching this, we pre-record on Wednesday and then it goes live on Friday. So today, which is Wednesday, the 24th, technically, according to this email, is Health Day that I
There
saw.
you go. It's perfect timing.
So the topic was, do you remember what the topic was that I gave
Yes.
you about
Yeah. Could your
your
could your
habits?
habits use a makeover?
Yeah. So I was witty on that makeover part. Nobody said that to me. Hey, I think my habits need a makeover instead. They know that I am a person on routine. And so I was asked by, as I mentioned, three different people this week, hey, what are your daily habits and how important is that? So I've got 10 points I want to go over. And I always appreciate Tessa's feedback on this because she's really good about kind of bringing it down to the lowest common denominator, right? When I talk this much, she can just get it right to the point. So, number one is journal every day. I mean, I realize I journal more than the average person, but I actually have two journals. I've got this one that's in front of me with trees. So I've met my quota for journaling, and that helps me. And what I really like to do is go back and read what I've written before, and then I get to see how I've grown. So
Mhm.
before I go into point number two, Tessa, anything you want to add to that? I don't know if you're someone that does journal or have found
I
that helpful.
I do. I think it's very good. I mean, it's good for like getting out your feelings, but it's also great for being just thankful for what you have achieved, like you mentioned, going back and looking at how much you've grown and seeing the wins and just being inspired by the how far you've gone. Not how far you have to go still, but how far you've gone
Oh,
already. But I love journaling. I actually use bullet journaling as a task management system. So it kind of acts as a journal and a task list. So
oh,
different.
oh. You reminded me on that, but I think we'll get into that with point number three, with
Okay.
the image that I picked. And I've got to
Mhm.
say, are you able, well, are you able to show that image
Yes, yes.
or later when we do?
Yes,
Because I'll tell you later
yes.
why I picked that image, which gets to the article I told you that I read today. So, point number two, I believe in early to bed, early to rise makes the person healthy, wealthy, and wise. So I
Yes.
am going to recommend, if you want to excel in what you're doing in your career, in your assignment, get to bed early and get up early as well. Are there times that I don't get to bed early? Yeah, there are. And you know what else I've noticed? What good comes out of it? Really, what good comes out of it? I mean, what you're watching, what you're doing, nothing really good comes out of being up past midnight, if I can just say.
Mhm.
So, and I know one thing, when Tessa first started working with me, she knew that I would tell her that I have this thing called digital sunset. I begin working at 7, I end at 7 p.m. Sometimes I might go over, but for the most part, that's something I do. So I don't know if you want to talk on that, Tessa, or if you
I
have
love the
been.
idea of a digital sunset and how disciplined you are to say, I'm cutting off my work and literally just letting technology go. Don't reply to emails. Don't look at technology until the next day. I mean, it shows a real discipline that we don't have in today's world, I think.
Yeah, thank you on that. The next one is, which kind of fits into that, develop a simple evening routine.
Mhm.
So, something simple, whether it's that you drink hot tea or a certain green tea in the evening, whether it's that you listen to relaxing music, whether it's maybe a skincare routine. Uh, Maybe, that's not me. I'm not going to say it, or would I admit it? So, do you have a simple evening routine that you do?
I do. I do. I don't think it's as fancy as the ones, I think that we all have a routine, things that we go through, but I actually have, the relaxing music or wave sounds and things like that. The routine is actually what helps me to go to sleep. I think I would be tempted to look at phones and things like that if I didn't have it. So it's
Yeah,
not fancy, but for sure,
sure.
taking care of yourself and getting ready for bed is really important. Putting moisturizer, that's one thing that I would tell my younger self that my older self would really appreciate. Moisturize more.
Yeah. And I'll get into it later. I was sharing with Tessa before we got on that for some reason, and we don't know why, but psychologists say this, that they don't understand why, but people tend to judge other people's self-care or evening routines. I don't know why that is, but they just do. And I actually just thought of this now on, I remember, gosh, years ago, I think this might have been in 2007, maybe right around 2008, that Obama was going to pick who his VP was. And I did want to hear this. I still remember who I voted for that year. I actually voted for Huckabee in the primaries and then John McCain. Yet the there was somebody that they were thinking of picking as VP for Obama, and his name was Ted Strickland. And at the time, he had just become governor in Ohio. And I thought, okay, they're saying he's one of the people they're considering. I want to go listen to him speak. And he began the conversation, just beginning, saying, well, I was thinking about what I was going to talk about with all of you this morning. And last night, I was doing what I always do at the end of the evening before, so he was talking about his simple evening routine. And he said, and I was reading a magazine in bed. That's what I do in the evening. And I see someone kind of go like this and they go, oh, wonder what kind of magazine that is. And then,
Oh,
so you see people were judging and then talk about putting your foot in your mouth. He then says, oh, don't get the wrong idea. It's not one of those kind of magazines. And I thought,
oh,
oh gosh, dude, you're just stop while you're
it's
ahead.
getting
Just
worse.
really. And he just kept going. And he's like, no, it's actually a magazine on. And now it came across the fence. It just, I'll tell you what happened is Obama picked Joe Biden instead. That's what happened. So I don't know why, guys, but just have a simple evening routine. Have something that you pamper. You don't want to tell others about it. And I will tell you this, although I say I'm not one to judge, and I wouldn't judge that, I also thought of something else that a friend of mine told me, maybe it might have been 4 or 5 years ago. And it was in an email. And he said, towards the end of the evening, that's what it was, that he said, Reagan, have you ever noticed the older you get, your evening routines are different?
Mhm.
And this is a person that said he used to like going out and maybe socializing even on a weekday. And he said, but now at our age, he says, my evening routines are popping a gummy or two and then watching YouTube videos. And I thought that's
Changed.
fine, dude. It really is. Just don't share that with other people because for some reason people judge things like that. All right. I'm going on to the next one.
All right.
Switching to whether it's decaf or I actually was influenced on this from Tessa. I now drink this stuff called mud water.
It's so
And
good.
you got me into this. Tessa, do you ever still occasionally do coffee or are you 100% on mud water?
I've had a couple cups of coffee since, and
Me too.
but I can tell right away how different it is. So it definitely is a different. It's more jittery, and I just don't feel good. And so now I'm very much addicted to it. It's like so many good things in that are antioxidants and good for you, and a little bit of energy too. So
Do you do the recommended, what is this, 1 tablespoon
one.
it says? Do you do one or you like me? Do you do two?
I had to do two when I first switched over, and now I've kind of weaned myself off because I just noticed that I don't need it as much if I do. But this is months and months that I've been doing it. So
And another question, do you do more than one in a day?
nope, just the one right now. But like I said in the
Really?
beginning, it was two, or at least 2 cups or 2 scoops at least. But now I've gotten used to, I've realized that my body doesn't need that anymore as much. So, but I feel good, and it's good for your hair. It's good for
That's what
everything.
I didn't know that one too.
Yes,
But I know
yes.
that it's good, like vitamins too. Do you drink it hot? Do you put it in you do?
It's just like a
Okay.
coffee for me, just like a black coffee. But I know, Kai's been trying it too, one of the people that I work with, and she loves like the iced version and some sweet stuff in there too, so you can make it however you
Do you
want.
know what I like to do is mix it with fruit. So that's the um sweetness, right? So instead of putting sugar, I did like a smoothie. So I had about this much water. I actually took 2 spoonfuls of this, and then I had strawberries, blueberries, like that, and just blended it and just drink it. It's great with
Yes,
that because the both.
it's so good for you too. So I'm glad you came
Yeah,
over to that side.
yeah. So that's my recommendation. Either switch to decaf or which I don't. Maybe you ought to try this stuff, mud water.
Hmm.
Oh my
Definitely.
goodness, though, you get umpteen advertisements on YouTube on it. Do you do the same thing?
Yes, you're all going to get it now that you've looked at
Oh
once you've
my
looked at it for
goodness.
the
I'm
first
like,
time.
I'm already on this stuff. Okay, I don't need to keep
They're
getting
just
out. All right, let's
reminding you
go.
to keep getting it. Yes, number 5.
Number 5, which you are very good at this. Plan your dinners, okay, for the week in advance. This is vital, whether you're single or married.
Mhm.
And Tessa, you're really good about this. I know that when we record well, on Wednesday evenings on this, we record at 5, by the way. So generally after that, she's like, "Oh, I have to go. Brian's going to get home, and I want to be able to have dinner ready." So you're also pretty disciplined about that with your evening. Do you
Mhm.
do meal preps? Maybe
We-
you could give
I
some advice for others.
well, I was doing where you get the boxes of meals. I think you have done that before too, where you
Yeah,
make
Flex
it.
Pro.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
I mean they're wonderful because you have all the ingredients and you can prep it, and then you have the next days. For me, because I'm eating alone typically, unless Brian's coming home.
Oh, so you
Uh,
used to do like the Blue Apron
Yes,
stuff? Is that what you
I think
mean? Got
it
it,
was
got it.
like every plate, but they were so good because you would just you'd have it all prepped. But I do buy in bulk whenever I can because then I can cook it up and have it ready to go. And I'm trying not to eat fast food, and not be choosing bad things when I'm out and about. I have everything kind of ready, or, easy to grab things that are ready to go
Very
and
good.
healthy,
Yeah.
hopefully.
There we go. And
How
and
about
then the
you?
next one, well,
Do you prep?
well, I need to get better at that. And here's why, because you're right. If it's the end of the evening and you're tired or what I call hangry,
Yes.
right? You're hungry and angry. you're like, I don't have time for this. And then I end up going out and grabbing something that, like you said, is expensive or not good for you or some fast food. So I need to get better at that. You're right. You weren't supposed to ask me. Okay. I'm allowed to
That
be a
was the one
hypocrite
I
on.
couldn't ask. Oh, that's funny. But you do, I think that the idea is that you would prep or at least just know what you're going to eat out at. So,
There we
I
go.
like it.
Numbers. Yeah. The next one, which you're
Yes.
also very good at doing, walking outdoors. I
Mhm.
know that sometimes if I do have a call or a Zoom meeting with Tessa in the afternoon, and she's like, you know what, I'm going to take the dog out or I'm going to go for a walk. So some people do this in the morning. I think you're really good about, correct me if I'm wrong, don't you do it sometimes during the afternoon or when you get a break?
Mhm.
Talk
Yeah,
to me about that.
any chance I can, just, the dogs need to go out and it's great for me. And if I'm really lucky, I can take my shoes off and walk around in the grass. And that helps to ground me a lot, just give me like that feeling, like, refreshing feeling. So I try to do it, several times during the day when I need to stand up and walk around.
And then the next one I'm going to bring up, and I don't do this every day, but on certain days, if I do feel like I have quite a bit on my to-do list, now this is something I do, and I feel that maybe a little overwhelmed, and I'm thinking I've got a lot of tasks and I need to be focused, and I don't want my mind to go anywhere. I will do what is known as the intermittent
Hmm.
fasting. So if you just juice all throughout that day, you will have more energy, whether you know it or not.
Really? I have
Oh,
not tried
yeah.
that. So that's
Oh, and you
interesting.
will be focused like a laser beam.
Wow.
So all you're doing is just liquids. You're just, and so you've got the, and see, I do have it in front of me. So in other words, I will know I've got a big task tomorrow, or I'll give you an example of what's happened. Here's a good example. Let's assume you had a lot of detail administrative stuff, maybe something you had to do planning wise with taxes, and it was on your to-do list on Monday, and you thought I'll get to it on Tuesday, and now it's Wednesday, and you're like, what am I going to do? And it's the end of the evening, you just don't really have the energy to work on that detailed task. I will plan for the next day. So I may go and buy the green juices at the grocery
Mhm.
store. I might buy a kombucha. So I might do that. I might buy a kombucha. I'll buy a green drink. I'll buy a fruit one. And I'll say, those are my meals for tomorrow. So I
Okay.
will have a mud water, right?
Mhm.
And then from there, it's all juicing. And you really do just, you're focused. And then you know when you finish it that day, whether it's 5 p.m., 6, then just eat like a pig.
That's a new one to me, so I'll have to try that.
So you have never done juicing like
Not
just
like
throughout
that.
the day?
No, no. I mean, I like sometimes I'll have a smoothie as part of a meal, some as a replacement for a meal, but I haven't tried it for focus specifically. So I'll have to see how that goes. That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, the whole thing of the intermittent fasting is really big, just a little further up north from where I live in Palm Beach. It's just a thing in Palm Beach. They don't eat until the thing in Palm Beach that people do is 4 p.m.
Oh,
That's what they do. They have that one
liquid diet
meal
until then.
at 4 p.m. And then at 4 they have this big dinner.
Okay, I'll just definitely try it.
So next one, morning routine. Have one, whether it's doing things like I do, meditations, journaling. If you do eat breakfast, I'm gonna recommend not with this in front of you.
Yeah,
No
no
phone.
phone.
You're gonna have it in front of you and dealing with the whole rest of the day. So why deal with it now? I mean, the one time you'll have that. So then the ninth one, and I'm going to get more into this because it is something that you have to be private about. Remember last week, the week before, I talked about if you want to get in with a family office, if you want, for example, Jimmy talked to me about someone earlier today that does maybe succession planning
Mhm.
for, and specifically in the industry of farmers. So, what is their succession plan? What is their exit strategy? And why did that? I don't know why about the
About
pampering
the
thing.
family. Oh,
I don't know why it got me on that. But the point is, pampering. Oh, now I know. This person would like to get in the door with family offices. He doesn't. He's in the door with families that own farms, but he'd like to get in the door with family offices.
oh,
So all
gotcha.
I'm saying is I know everybody would like to, and I'd be careful
Mm,
on sharing personal info about pampering. And I don't have to share my screen, but I mentioned to Tessa right before
mhm.
this that I have
Yes.
read numerous articles on this, numerous on this. And I don't know why. And I'm going to read this to you guys. It says self-care is not just a buzzword. It's an essential part of maintaining your mental and emotional physical health. Okay, we know that. Here's the next part. It says, but these rituals are personal. They're intimate. They're unique to each individual. They're your special way of taking care of yourself, and they do not need to be validated because they will be judged by others. And then it says, and I told you I knew someone that was really judged on this. He was a man and he takes baths and do, oh man, that's girly. Oh, that's this. That's not being. So it says whether it's, and the article really says this, I'm reading exactly, whether it's a bubble bath at the end of a long day, a morning meditation routine, or a weekly therapy session, these moments are yours and yours alone. Sharing them might lead to unsolicited advice or comparisons that take away from the peace and comfort of those rituals that those rituals provide,
Right.
right? So I get that. The other part, it says these self-care rituals are your, as I mentioned, personal sanctuary, place for you to recharge and rejuvenate. They're sacred and should be respected as such. Last
Mhm.
sentence here. Taking care of yourself is not selfish or indulgent, it's necessary. And how you choose to do so should always remain a private matter. Keep these rituals close to your heart as they play an integral role in shaping your well being and happiness. Now, Tessa, I'm not asking you to share
Oh,
your pampering, but what did you think on that? Because I actually read that to you before we got on, and I said, I don't know why people judge this, but it's just, they say it's just not wise to share your evening or pampering routines. What are your
I
thoughts on that, Tess?
I can see that. I know you told me a couple different stories about that, that people that that were judged, and it didn't dawn on me because I wouldn't judge people by that, but it makes sense that some people might. I mean, just sad, but you know I guess I think that it's your own thing, and you do it when you need to, and you don't have to get permission. That's the cool thing about, if you give yourself that time. If that means you're away from somebody because you think they'll judge you, then so be it. But I
Yeah,
think you have to pamper yourself, because if you don't refill your batteries, if you don't refill, then you're not able to you can't give anything to anybody else, right? You're not going to have the energy to go take care of other people if you haven't refilled your own.
yeah. So again, I know you might think to yourself, no, not everyone's going to judge that. Really, just kind of pick that up and notice that even if you're not a judgmental person, you kind of will on that. So and look, I'm gonna share my evening routine, and I know I'm gonna get judged for it. I know that I am. So I like to go out in my balcony the end of the evening and like to stare at the moon. Now you see some people say, "Oh, what does he do? Does he bark at the moon?" Oh, well, I like to go to the evening. Oh, you remember that used to be a song years ago, Ozzy
Yes,
Osbourne, Park at the Moon? See, people will
yes.
judge that. Oh, I listen to Ozzy Osbourne. Oh, that's the guy that bit off a bat's head. Do you remember that
Oh,
years ago?
yep.
You
I
remember this
remember
guy?
hearing that.
You and I are majorly dating ourselves.
I know. I
The
was going
fact
to
that
say.
we know who Ozzy Osbourne is. So, yes, people will judge if you say, yeah, I like to go out in the evening and stare at the moon. I remember, I'm going to pick another one I knew. I know a guy that said to me, one of the things I like, well, he didn't say to me, I was at this luncheon that was with a very conservative kind of faith-based group that was very conservative. And the attorney that does legal work for this organization mentioned while we were at this table, it was kind of round, and I think there were about 5, 6 people. And so he said, one of the things I like to do in the evening is I like to laugh. So he said, before I go to sleep, I like to watch crazy videos on YouTube, or I like to watch Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon. So when he said that, and he's like, and that's what I do in the evenings. I just laugh. And while he said that, I'm going, and I'm just kind of, he had no clue why I was smiling. I thought to myself, I think this guy just gave himself away. I think what we know what he does in the evening. I think he smokes pot. That's why he laughs
Oh,
so much. Now, see, you wouldn't have thought that. You
no,
wouldn't have assumed if you
no,
said I like to laugh.
no.
To me, that
But
just mhm.
no, I don't know. I guess I like to watch comedy too, so it makes me laugh. I feel like it'd be about the same, but I think that well, and I'm sure you're gonna end with this anyway, but you have 10 to do still, but I think it's just sad if people are judging. Like it just doesn't we it's not fair to judge anybody for what they do or don't do, right? So I'm hoping that everyone just minds their own business and doesn't, worry about your own self-care.
Well, how about this? Unfortunately, the rest of the world is not like you, Tessa. I
I
mean, it'd be
know,
great if
maybe it's
the
true.
so just be careful on that. Just I do like the point that the article said that this is personal. It's something of yours, and you don't want it to get in the way of what brings you that peace. So, for example, if it was something like watching the Tonight Show in the evening just to get a good laugh, I mean, what's wrong with that?
Right.
Right? So if you're a lawyer and you deal with boring stuff and you don't laugh at all during the day, I mean, good for you. But again, probably shouldn't have mentioned it at this luncheon. Last one, writing out my plan for the next day,
100%.
personal and professional. So any thoughts you want to add on that, Tess?
No, I think that's the best thing you can do is just to understand where your priorities are going to be for the next day so that you can, prioritize them, but also make sure that you have your top three or top, I don't know how many people usually do, but I have to help focus in the day before. It makes my day go so much better. If I don't do that the night before, it just seems like I have to catch up the next day. It takes time and it's not as easy as it is at night for sure.
You're exactly right. So let me wrap up. Whatever your evening ritual is, just keep it to yourself, okay? Nobody wants to know that you pull this out of your fridge and have a few gummies, okay?
Oh,
Nobody needs to know that. That's just your business, as this guy said. I had these way back in my fridge. I've had these for over a year. You see my point? People judge on things like that. So on that note, we are going to have a very exciting project that I'll be highlighting next week. And I think that's it. Any last thing you want to wrap up with or any comment you
no,
want to mention, Tessa?
no. I just want to invite everyone to hit the reminder bell so that they can get notifications when we go live. So Fridays at noon Eastern time, our shows go live. If you have any questions or if you'd like to find out more about Reagan or Fifth Avenue Capital and the projects that he's working on, you can go to 5thaavc.com to check out his portfolio on there and learn more about what he does. So thank you all. Thank you, Reagan. And we'll see you all.